Okay, let's start this 22 October meeting of the Planning Commission. Erica, could you please do a roll call and let folks know how they can participate?
Sure.
Um,
Chair Bluth,
Here.
Vice Chair Silva,
Here.
Commissioner Brassfield, Commissioner Dawson, Commissioner Fletcher,
Here.
Commissioner Freeman,
Here.
and Commissioner Latassa.
Here.
Great. And information on participating in this meeting and providing public comment, including remotely by Zoom or telephone, is on this meeting's agenda, which is online at isearchmonterey.org. Remote commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak, and a timer will be shown on the screen. If you're connected on Zoom, the timer is accurate with no delay. In the chamber, we recommend keeping phones and devices muted to prevent audio interference with the meeting. Thank you for participating in your city government. I'd also like to mention that staff members present are Planning Manager Levi Hill and myself, Recording Secretary Erica Barrera.
Thank you. So it looks like on the consent agenda, we just have the minutes from the 10 September meeting. Any comments?
No.
Yeah.
On
Mike.
item number 6, says Commissioner Bradley said he appreciated the housing. But took issue with reported numbers of residents utilized. It wasn't the number of residents used, it's the non-residents that use the park. It's a much greater number than.
Oh,
It's a much greater number of non-residents that use the park. That was my comment. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you.
We'll have that corrected.
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
any comments in the audience? Any online, Erica? Hands raised?
The lady out there doesn't want to make any comments.
Probably not.
There is one attendee online, however, their hand is not raised.
Right. Yes, Mike, would you like to make the motion?
Yes, I move to accept the minutes as modified.
Any
I'll second that.
Great, yay. Then we're have the first and second, and let's have a roll call, please.
Chair Bluth,
Yes.
Vice Chair Silva,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Dawson,
Yes,
Commissioner Fletcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman. Yes. Commissioner Latassa.
Yes.
Okay, the consent items have been approved as amended.
Anybody in the audience that has any comments on issues that are not on the agenda? Anybody online, Erica?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, then let's move on to the public appearance items. Looks like just one. Consider 1430 Mark Thomas Drive use permit UP 240167 to allow modifications to an existing wireless communications facility on an existing commercial building. Is there a staff presentation?
There is. Contract planner Jerry Hiddleman will be presenting tonight's item.
Great. Welcome back, Jerry.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Chair, Planning Commissioners, let me share my screen and I'll present a PowerPoint presentation for you. Can everyone see that?
yes.
Okay. So as stated, this is a modification to an existing T-Mobile wireless facility at 1430 Mark Thomas Drive. That's the Hyatt Hotel, and it's use permit 240176. Start with the project location. You can see it's south of Cabrillo Highway #1 and Mark Thomas Drive. And as you'll see, the existing antennas are on this building. And this is a building that you can see as you enter this facility on Old Golf Course Road, in this location. So the project description, the ownership is the FWRE Monterey LLC. The applicant is Caitlin Milbank with Network Connex representing T-Mobile West LLC. And the purpose of this project is upgrade the antennas to provide 5G technology for cell phones and computers. The zone designation for the site is Visitor Accommodation Facility. And same thing for the general plan, Visitor Accommodation Facility, or VAF. So as you'll see, the scope of work is to remove 6 existing panel antennas that are on the roof, remove some existing TMAs that support equipment, and remove 2 existing cabinets, which you'll see are in the attic below, and also remove existing unused ancillary equipment. And they want to install or replace those new antennas with 6 new antennas, 6 new remote radio units, some hybrid cables, and also installed 2 new cabinets in the attic, which is just below the roof level. So this proposal is considered eligible facilities request under section 6409A of the Middle Class Tax Relief and Job Creation Act. And seen a number of projects like this, but we've determined that this is not a substantial change per the FCC definition. So moving to the site plan, again, here is Mark Thomas Drive. Here's the building where the antennas are on the roof level, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 antennas and the roof, as you'll see further in the presentation. And here's a more detailed look at that roof. So we do have the roof, the antennas. There's a little roof screening enclosure over here that screens all the mechanical equipment and also some of the wireless equipment behind the antennas, as you'll see in as we go in further into the presentation. And that equipment room is right in the attic, just below the roof level over here. So that's totally enclosed within the building. So here's the antenna layout in more detail. This is existing on your left. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then moving to the other side of that screening wall on 5, 6. So these antennas are a little bit smaller, I'd say about 6 to 8 inches wide in this direction, and they're replacing them with 6 new antennas. The bigger ones are about 1 foot across. This may be like 10 inches, so they are slightly bigger, and they're in exactly the same location. Behind that roof screening wall, there'll be some remote radio units that are be replaced, as you can see in these locations over here. And then going to the equipment plan, again, totally within the building. They're taking out 1, 2, 3 cabinets and replacing them with 2 new cabinets. And I guess this would be accessed by a hatch below going into the building. Moving further, this is the north elevation. This is the elevation that actually faces towards Highway 1. So here's the antenna on the west side of the building, and then there's 2 antennas over here that are existing. And as you can see, they're going to be replaced in the same exact location. Again, the antennas will be a little bit longer, about 1 foot longer, but they won't extend above this roof enclosure on the top. So you can see the roof, and then there is an enclosure with the mechanical and other equipment behind it. Moving to the west elevation, again, you see the replacement of the antennas. Here's the existing proposed. They're placed in the same exact location, but will not extend above that roof enclosure. Moving over to photo simulations. This is the view from Highway 1 of the building. You can really only see these units on the side of the building, and they are painted currently to match the color of that roof screening wall. And here's the new antennas below. And again, they will be painted also to match that color of that screening wall. This is the view as you come into the facility. And you can see again, the existing antennas on the roof, and these are the replacement ones down below. It was an RF study. The proposed antennas were found to be compliant with FCC radio frequency guidelines. They were double checked by a third party to make sure they were correct. And there's no public safety limits exceeded at the ground level. They are exceeded at the roof level, as you'll see in the following slides. And public safety RF limit is exceeded on the adjacent building rooftop on the same property. So you'll see that in this figure over here. The red color represents where the public limit is exceeded over here. And as you can see, there is occupational limit in purple here that does not go beyond this roof, but the public limit does go over to this rooftop over here on an adjacent building that you'll see in elevation is actually about 8 to 10 feet lower than this building. So here's what that looks like. Again, here is the occupational limit. Here's the public limit. Here's the adjacent building. And as you can see, it is about 8 feet lower. It's, 5 meters lower. So it's hard to say, but it is lower. We are concerned about workers on this rooftop. So you'll see we have a special condition to take care of that. And of course, for workers on this rooftop. So here are the conditions. So there will be a post-installation RF coverage report. It'll have to be submitted within 30 days of installation to ensure that this is exactly the RF emissions that I showed you are correct. RF exposure training for all workers on the roof and in the facility. Work in front of any antenna shall be coordinated with the wireless company so they can be closed down temporarily. Display the wireless carrier's contact information. And then, of course, appropriate RF signage for areas in excess of 100% of the general population limit. And I should say for the occupational limit at both the project building and the adjacent building to the west. So we want to make sure that there's no public access to that roof and also that there's warning signs. But in this adjacent building, same for this building to ensure worker safety. So with that, staff does recommend that you approve the use permit 240176 with the recommended findings and conditions of approval. And I'm available for answer any questions. I noticed that the applicant is also on the Zoom call, so she can answer questions as well. Thank you.
Any questions for Jerry? Mike?
Jerry, is there any other company sell equipment at this site?
There is cell equipment not on these buildings, but if you've been on the planning commission for a while, there are 3 flagpoles out in front of this property, and they do have cell equipment. I believe it's AT&T, and those were installed about 3 to 4 years ago. But we did have our third party check to make sure there were no cumulative impacts from this and the other facility, and they don't interface. So that was a concern of ours as well.
Well, we're seeing in different places now where you have multiple companies on one gathering site, like a top of a hotel and so forth.
Yes.
Individually, there's not much accumulative impact. But collectively, if every company keeps adding sites, we can get an accumulation of the transmitters and antennae that become an eyesore. So is there any discussion about putting in the panels that remove the visual impact from the outside?
They are replacing them in the same exact location with the same color, as you can see on this figure. This is not a screening wall, unfortunately, that's up there. So that's a solid wall. And they would have to put another screening facility on the outside of this, which may or may not hide the facility. It would pop out in itself.
Well, the shadow pops out as the visual impact. That's
Yes.
why I asked.
Yeah, and I'll just add, the ordinance, and you're correct, we start to see a lot of these carriers locate in the same spots. Our ordinance actually encourages co-location to limit the amount of new and standalone facilities. And painting of the equipment is an acceptable concealing technique through the wireless ordinance. Typically, as it relates to RF, that does get studied as a part of the RF analysis. The post-construction RF report actually specifically is taking site readings after the installation of the facility is activated. So it naturally is going to pick up not just any RF emissions from that facility, but really any facility that's operating that would pick up a reading. So interestingly enough, when we get those post RF reports, it actually gives us a pretty good idea of what the actual RF amount is in that location from all facilities.
But in the FCC laws, it focuses on aesthetics. And that's one of the things that when we start seeing an accumulation of more than one company at different sites, I think we need to pay attention to the aesthetics. And that's why I'm asking if you can just put them on the outside and paint them is one thing, but aesthetically, when you start looking at numbers, that becomes an accumulative impact. And I want to make sure that we're covered in that direction.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sandy?
I want to follow on Mike's noticing that the 3 flagpoles are nearby. And on the last page of the letter from CDE Technology and Energy, there's a nice picture that shows the location of the T-Mobile stuff on top of the, for lack of a better word, on top of the roof of the hotel. And then it points to the flagpoles across the driveway. And the point that the guy is making is they're not too close together to have a quote effect. Well, what would the effect be? What is the disaster we're trying to avoid here?
I think the cumulative effect would be an overlap of what would maybe a single facility would be within the FCC parameters of acceptability for general population exposure from just that facility. But whereas if you had multiple facilities where they're overlapping emission fields, that it would create a concentration that may be deemed unsafe or for the levels of emissions acceptable for the general population.
Thanks, Jerry. You mentioned there was a condition about the adjacent building.
Yes.
And can you bring that condition up on the screen?
Yes. Let me find that. 1 second. So we have Planning Commission report right here.
The last one.
Here it is. Let me blow this up a little bit. So for any area in excess of 100% general population, MPE, that means limit on the proposed project site rooftop and the adjacent building rooftop to the east, access controls with appropriate RF alerting signage must be put in place and maintained at the proposed. It says utility pole, that should be roof to inform the authorized climbers and personnel of potential conditions near the antennas with the recommendations made in the RF report. So we want to make sure that they have the signage on both rooftops and that they are safe for all workers.
So I guess there would be a, like a pretty prominent sign that anybody would see when they went up on that adjacent roof.
That's
Correct. Yeah. Oh, yeah, at the access point to the roof.
And is that a, just a regular sort of a, durable, plastic sign on some sort of a metal support structure or something?
Uh, I've seen them in a number of places. They're typically a metal sign.
Uh-huh.
That's supposed to be durable. Yes.
it's usually fastened to the door for the entry point to the roof for roof
Okay.
access. So before you could actually enter that restricted area, and yeah, it resembles kind of a hazardous materials type signage with like bright colors with warning language, very prominent.
Great. And I guess somebody looked at that adjacent building and there is some sort of a stairway or a ladder that accesses that roof?
Yeah, it's the same. I think it's from access stairway, maybe.
Okay. Okay. It's not just, lean the ladder up against the building and go up. There's an actual like access stair.
I believe so.
Okay. And so I guess out of this, that one condition will be revised then.
Yes.
You mentioned that there's some, I don't
It was actually corrected in the draft packet for the resolution that's
Oh,
in there.
okay.
It just refers to personnel or authorized staff or personnel that would enter the rooftop.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Does the applicant have a presentation or comments to make? They're online, right?
Yeah, the applicant is online.
Hello, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, let's bring it back. Any discussion on the item?
We still need to open up for public
Right,
comment.
any comment in the public space? I don't think so. Yeah, then we bring it back.
There's
Would you
hand
guys
raised-
click online?
There's a hand raised online.
Oh, there is a hand raised. I'm sorry.
Colin with the number ending in 902. Go ahead and speak.
My name is Nina Beatty. I have a number of points I'd like to raise. First of all, this application was not posted to the city's website as of noon today. And that was part of the arrangement within the wireless ordinance that applications would be posted. And so I've requested that this be tabled for a meeting after it has been posted to the city's website so that the public can be informed about it. I have additional comments on the RF exposure. This is simply computer modeling. It is not actual conditions where it has been measured beforehand, and it's not cumulative existing conditions from the Naval Postgraduate School as well as the other antennas on the building. And as I recall, there was another company that had antennas on the building previously. No one's actually measured inside and outside the buildings to know if it exceeds FCC exposure guidelines where the public is going to be. It only exceeds guidelines for heating, not for biological effects, which the FCC elected not to adopt in the beginning. So I think it's important for the city to know beforehand about the existing RF from all sources and all frequencies together before anything else is added to the mix. The FCC has also not responded to the federal court remand on its exposure guidelines, which includes on 5G. So these guidelines are currently unjustified, and that's at the FCC's their willingness to leave these in limbo. So you really don't have guidelines that have been justified at the federal level for this installation. This is a substantial change because it's a shift to 5G. That involves different set of frequencies and different aspects. Also, the TCA covers or protects telephone access, but it does not protect internet access. This 5G is generally an internet provider or provides service for that. And so the restrictions and the protections in the TCA don't apply when it is that sort of service. I heard no discussion about gap in coverage for telephone service for T-Mobile. And if there's no gap in coverage, the Planning Commission can deny this application. The access to Highway 1 is impaired for me. I'm disabled by electromagnetic sensitivity, and I no longer use Highway 1, that portion of Highway 1, because of the extremely high radiation levels that are coming from the Hyatt and also from the Naval Postgraduate School. Also, I found that my home has been impacted by these facilities, the existing facilities at the Hyatt, and I am a good distance from the hotel, but I'm in the hills and can have a view shed of it.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
for your
your-
comment. You've
yeah,
reached
thanks
your
for your
time
comment.
limit.
Um,
All right.
Levi, do you have any comment on the issue associated with the posting?
Sure. Yes. So I believe what the commenter was commenting on is a section out of our wireless ordinance that deals with applications being posted online. The staff report, as you all know, was posted on Friday, which is 5 days before the hearing. But I believe what the caller is referring to is out of the applications being made available online. However, it does that section of the code allows the discretion of the community development director to determine whether or not those get posted online. And as a matter of policy, we have not been posting modifications to existing facilities. We've only been doing that for new facilities. Furthermore, that section of code also notes that the city's failure to post the applications by the time required shall not affect the validity of any application submitted under this section. So we are in compliance with that section of the code.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments?
Sure.
Okay.
One of the things that, and among the material that was given to us, it says that all employees will be trained in this. I will point out again that I still don't think our city employees have been trained. But I'd like to see that we can document that training and periodically make sure that new employees are also receive an update in that training. I still say it is an apparent safety issue that we need to address as a city. Thank you.
Mhm. Any other comments? Okay.
This application seems pretty straightforward. It is a modification to an existing um, uh, cell situation. The visual impacts seem minimal, and all the various charts of the impacts. The one adjacent building, they've mitigated that with a sign. So I'll make a motion to approve the item as submitted.
I'll second it with the
Thank you.
findings. The city listened to findings.
Wonderful. Erica, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Chair Bluth,
Aye.
Vice Chair Silva,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Dawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes,
Commissioner Latassa.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries and it is appealable within 3 days to our city council. We have applications online or in our planning office.
Thank you. Any comments from, commissioners? Yes, Mike.
Just in general, these 6409s or whatever they're called, we have to approve them. The question I've got is, how much time did we spend? We spent a half an hour discussing something we have to in the end approve. That doesn't seem to be fair. If it's something we can possibly not approve, then we have standing. But the way things are, we do not.
I think Mike brought up a good point about the visual effects. And we do have an opportunity to weigh in on that. And so I think as these come up, we're not going to be making a decision that references the RF issues, but the visual, the effects of the antennas, they're changing. At least we can make input on that.
And I think that's going to be more and more prevalent as we put more and more sites up on these buildings.
Yeah.
But in other issues regarding visual impact, that's up to the ARC. But where the planning commission has the standing to look at the issue here.
Yes,
So
Darren.
I have a comment. So I've been having out of town visitors. I lately have been taking them down to see the this amazing group of sea lions down at Sister Park on the recreation trail. Thousands of them. I don't know, 2,000-3,000 individuals right next to the trail.
Yeah.
It's like the Serengeti or something. It's a
It is.
spectacular wildlife opportunity. But when I've been down there, I've been noticing the electric bikes, big, heavy electric bikes going 30, 35 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, it's really been striking me. And I thought we might consider agendizing a discussion of it. I'd love to hear what the police department has to say. And, if they're planning and police, just if they are tracking the safety issues down there on the recreation trail.
Yeah, we can definitely look into that and possibly put together, maybe agendize and put together a presentation what we have. It's my understanding only a certain class of electric bikes are actually legally allowed to operate on the recreation trail, but as you can imagine, the actual enforcement of that and application of that is probably pretty challenging. But yeah, I'd be happy to discuss that with our police department as well as our transportation folks and public works to get an understanding of if they've received other complaints, if we have service calls to that regard.
I'm not really complaining. I'm just curious about the safety issues and if there are accidents happening.
Sure. And yeah,
Right.
valid point.
I challenged that in a meeting, about a year ago, and asked if the police are actually clocking people on the rec trail, and they said no.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's an unenforced rule.
Right.
So that's not a good thing, because if one of those things hits you, there's going to be broken bones all over the place.
Right.
It wasn't that long ago, a gentleman came before this commission and spoke to his experience that he's had with those e-bikes down on count.
I recall that.
And I believe he also went before city council as well. And we've discussed this when we've had use permits before us for more shop space to provide for these things. And I mean, it's discouraging at how little is done to really make that rec trail more safe, because it's not safe as it is right now. And I would certainly like the opportunity to know more about the bikes themselves and the regulations for the 3 different levels and what the city's policy is regarding safety down there, and then what the police department is doing to keep an eye on that. I think it's a great idea.
I'd be interested in knowing how many of these large, fast, fat tire mountain bikes are rentals. And if there's something that can be done to restrict the business from renting these things, because naturally people are just going to go on the rec trail.
The other thing that came up
If you're going fast.
at this meeting that Dan was talking about, if the police department is incapable of staffing, and they should, and I mean, you can see how they would be incapable of staffing every intersection, but CCTV cameras, they're not that expensive. Another thing that might be done in conjunction with what Peter said is to force licensure for bikes, so if the CCTV picks up a bike, it's got a little license on it. And that would be an altogether new thing. I don't think there is such a requirement today.
No.
I'm on the rec trail 3 mornings a week on my bike, and it's just wild, the number of these little putt-putts that are fully motorized. And then the big fat tire ones, fully motorized that are just zooming.
Mhm.
There was a city in Southern California that had a problem when someone got killed. And I'm
Yeah.
curious as to whatever happened to that, because I'm sure the city shouldered a lot of responsibility,
Well-
financial responsibility for that.
Other countries now are requiring a license. So far, the United States hasn't gone that way, but people are dying and very seriously injured across the country because of the speeds involved. We haven't discussed speed limit signs, posted speed limit signs on a bike trail. That's one thing that we could look at.
Mhm.
But those are some of the things I think we've heard from everybody on the commission. They have
Well,
an
I was-
opinion on that needs
I
to
was
be looked
hoping
at.
if we could agendize it, then we'll have a full-on
Yeah.
thing,
I think
especially.
it supports what you're mentioning here,
Mhm.
Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah, would also be interesting to know how the new police facility at Lake Elstero might be able to play into that, because then it'll be much closer to the rec trail and
Yeah.
be able to get people down there to potentially help with enforcement.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think we should agendize that where we can have the full scope of speed signs and different restrictions that would increase public safety for that location.
It'd be interesting, the city owns a speed limit trailer that tracks it and it shows you what your speed. You can put it down on the bike trail, really show people what speeds we're talking about. And by the way, it tracks it. So you can get a mean.
Mhm.
You know, Pacific Grove has a 12-mile-an-hour limit, and they do have it posted. It's right near Lover's Point. So it's not like it can't be done. And like the one that stops you from going more than 35 miles an hour in your car. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Let me chat with our public works folks. They have a lot of data and numbers as part of our multimodal plan that's been put together. I know that they look heavily at the use of our recreation trail. I know a lot of them use it daily as commuters as well. So I'd be really be interested in talking to them, and then also with the police department. And yeah, I think agendizing that and bringing something a little bit more put together for you all to have that discussion. And then yeah, if that's something that maybe necessitates changes that can be moved forward to council, we can take action there.
It's also interesting that this comes into resource control because people have complained for years that that bike trail is too narrow and that we need a separate one for pedestrians and bikers. So, I mean, I don't know how you're going to cantilever it out over the bay, but
Illegal.
Well-
but the coastal commission would have something to say with that. But we're running into resource management.
Yeah, and just like I think it's worth. That's why I really want to engage our public works folks. They're the design professionals. So just like automobile traffic, there's ways of traffic calming for recreation trails that maybe right now it's kind of a highway format as far as recreation trails go. I'm sure there's probably ideas as far as features that can be put in that are hardscape rather than requiring staffing from a city department that can have the same effect of slowing down traffic. So yeah,
To a 90-degree turn.
exactly. Put a couple harsh turns in there, and that'll usually slow folks down for a little bit.
Great. Any other comments? Levi, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, so just quickly, it's been a little bit since we've gathered, so some of these updates might feel a little bit out of date, but just following up the September 17th city council meeting, they did carry the recommendation of the planning commission and did vote to approve the amendment to the downtown specific plan, eliminating the minimum parking standards for residential land uses. So that's now in effect. And then also at the most recent City Council October 15th City Council meeting, the council voted and approved the affordable housing and property disposition agreement along with the lease agreement for the Madison Street Affordable Housing Project. So that's the 42-unit housing project located behind City Hall. So just one more milestone reached in that.
How many
And
units?
then
How many units was that?
42.
And they
Yeah,
have water.
all 100% affordable. That's correct. They do have the water for that, city water.
So how many more hurdles do we have?
So really the primary challenge to that remains with that project is just because it requires federal funding for the affordability component, MidPenn's utilizing housing vouchers. So that money trickles down from the federal government down to the county, and then they release that through the vouchers. Because of that, it's getting federal dollars technically, so they have to go through environmental review at the federal level rather than at the state level because they're actually exempt from CEQA as a SB 35 project. So they're actually preparing a NEPA document rather than CEQA. So part of that is and where that gets interesting is the historic component because the site is located in National Historic District. So part of NEPA review is a portion of the Government Code Section 106, which deals specifically with historic preservation and impacts to historic properties with projects that have federal dollars. So right now we're we're engaged with a review process for the State Historic Preservation Office. So they're performing that Section 106 review as a part of that NEPA clearance. So really that's kind of the last hurdle. We completed some field testing for archaeological artifacts out there a couple of weeks back, and it didn't yield any positive results of significance. So that's a big plus for moving that project forward. The design team has made a whole lot of great progress. I encourage you to, if you have time, to take a look at the presentation that was given to the council. The design team walked through a lot of the design of the building, gave a very thorough presentation on that. It's a very beautiful building, so I think you'll be very pleased. But yeah, primarily that's the remaining hurdle.
Justin Pauly did a great job showing how that building is going to look. It's worth watching that city council meeting just to get a feeling for the quality work that's going into that project.
Really is.
What date is that meeting?
It was on October 15th. Yeah. And just also I'll share, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, we were awarded at the Coastal Commission meeting in San Diego. The city was awarded a $1.6 million grant to study sea level rise as a part of our LCP preparation. So we're excited to accept that award and move that project along further with some state dollars as part of it. So share that. And then tentatively on our agenda for the November 12th meeting, we do have an item tentatively scheduled. It's an event venue at 456 Lighthouse with a initial study and mitigated negative declaration that was prepared as a part of that project. So
456?
456 Lighthouse.
What is the nature of the project?
It's a office space currently, and they're requesting to have a specific number of events throughout the year. Yeah,
Okay.
as a part of that. Yeah. And then I think just continuing on, I wanted to talk briefly about the remaining meetings in the year. I believe I sent out an email to everyone gauging people's availability for specifically the November 26th meeting. It sounds like we will be able to have a quorum to move that forward. But while we were all here, I did want to just kind of gauge whether or not we would have a quorum available for the December meeting, which is going to be December 10th. So it looks like we're pretty good. Okay. And then I'm also going to go out on a limb and say that we're not going to have a quorum for the December 24th meeting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Unless we all want to gather.
Experience?
Yeah. Yeah. In my experience, it feels like that would not be a popular meeting day. So we're going to go ahead and avoid scheduling anything for that meeting. We'll cancel it most likely when we get closer to that date, when we get a very much confirmation, but we'll plan on not scheduling anything for that.
I wanted to comment that people do listen to your comments. I've had 2 people stop me and ask me about what's going on North Fremont, and they had heard your comment about Eddie's and the hotel. And they were very pleased to hear that. We don't probably do enough of that catch-up notification that, because people were asking all kinds of questions. Where's the parking going to be, since it's not going to be in the basement for the Eddies and those kind of things? I said, I have no idea at this point, but is it going to be using the same architect's plans?
And you're referring to the Avid Hotel that was approved?
No, Eddie's across from CVS.
I'll have to get some more background on that to speak specifically on that. Yeah. That's all I have.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll close this meeting at 4:43.
Have you ever been to Santa